coming fast at them now. Kid Corleone running a big one down at the rail, then CZ Rocket trying to come home gamely as well. They are homeward bound. Dr. Skyville, Anarchist has come to take him on. The Chosen Vron is in there as well with a white cap. Three of them nose and nose to the wire. The Chosen Vron has won it again.
He truly is one of the more remarkable horses in the Breeders' Cup Sprint Division, and by virtue of that win last year in the Bing Crosby, he was into the Breeders' Cup Sprint, talking about the amazing 6-year-old Calbred, the Chosen Vron, and he's back today here at Del Mar for another win and you're in opportunity in the Bing Crosby. We're back at Del Mar with an unreal Saturday card ahead. I'm Todd Schrupp, very pleased to be with Gabby Gaudet. Thank you for joining us on our social media show here, the Del Mar Handicapping Show on behalf of FanDuel TV. Wow, what a day we have ahead. First of all, the Chosen Vron, 18 lifetime wins, 5-race win streak coming in. He's just an exciting horse to watch every time he runs.
He's reliable, right? I mean, every time he shows up, and it's so rare to find a horse that can be that consistent. And even in the Bing Crosby last year, he didn't have a great trip, and he still wound up winning. He's got the heart of a lion. I'm excited to see him run later today, but it is a tough field.
It is. You know, it's interesting. Last year, he went off at 4-1 when he won the race. Today, he's the 6-5 morning line favorite. That'll be race number 10 on the 11-race card. Again, big implications. You have the star, the Chosen Vron, but it is a win in your in, part of the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. But there are other stakes races on the card, and we want to talk first about the Daisy Cutter. The Daisy Cutter is race number 7 on the card. This is always one of my favorite races on the stakes schedule here at Del Mar. They moved it around a bit. They moved it to Saturday. Sometimes it would appear on a Friday, but it's always great. 5 furlongs over the firm, Jimmy Durante turf course. This for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. Let's take a backtrack look at Elm Drive. My question to you with Elm Drive would be, where's this horse best? Is this horse best on the turf, or is this horse better on the dirt? Does it matter? Is this horse capable on both surfaces?
I think she's capable on both surfaces. I don't think that she absolutely loves a softer turf course, and unfortunately, she's had to deal with that in the last 2 starts, yielding ground last time out at Churchill, and then less than firm conditions the start prior to that. She might be a little bit better on the dirt, but I think she's capable of winning this race, getting back to firm conditions. She is not going to make the lead. I just wonder if another horse in here might be able to get the jump on her, but she does come out of arguably the strongest races, in my opinion.
Well, a horse, if she'd been racing recently, there'd be no doubt she'd probably be the favorite in here is Connie Swingle. I hadn't even realized that we haven't seen her since October of 2022. But when we saw her, she was outstanding on just about every turf course. You could take her in Southern California in every distance, down the hill at Santa Anita and 5 furlongs here at Del Mar. She's a true rarity in that she can win those 2 races, which are very, very different.
And when you talk about, I think the sprint division in particular, when you talk about 5 furlongs versus 5.5 versus 6, 6.5, especially down the hill, those are completely different races. They're run completely differently. And the fact that she's been able to do that just speaks to her class. Now, off the layoff, I do think this is a very, very tough spot. But sometimes I think in turf sprints, you can overcome maybe not being at 100% because of the speed. And you just have to have luck and you have to be fast.
Is running with the boys Connie Swingle 2.0? Because she's coming off a massive effort down the hill. She's won at 5.5 furlongs on the main turf course there at Santa Anita. How do you think she'll do going the 5 furlongs here at Del Mar? I know we have one race to look at, but it maybe wasn't fair. Last summer, she got beat as the favorite in a 5 furlong race here on the grass with a nightmarish trip.
It's going to depend on the pace scenario, I think, for her. I don't mind her, but I think a horse like Elm Drive, she's not going to be on the lead, but I do think Elm Drive gets the jump on her. To me, I think running with the boys is a little bit more pace dependent, and I don't know that pace comes back to her. I know there's a little bit of speed with itself, and then stay and scam to the outside. She's going to be close as well, but I don't know. She kind of looks like a filly that needs to set up.
After talking to you, I have zero idea who you're picking here. Do you want to tell us?
Stay and scam.
You do?
Yep, I'm going with this horse.
I waved off the backtrack on that horse.
So maybe
you want to show us? Okay, go ahead.
We don't need to show the backtrack. I think the point Bean, when you
Okay.
look at her races, she's been consistent going long. She's been good sprinting as well.
You're right.
Overall, she's good. Her thoroughgraph figures are so much faster sprinting. I think she has wanted to sprint all along.
This is why we do the show. This is why you have that group of players that you hang out with at the racetrack. You come in thinking one thing, you leave thinking another. I'm going to now use stay and scam on my plays later. Well done. Okay, we have another stakes race before the winning you're in, Bing Crosby. This is a race that leads to the FanDuel Racing Pacific Classic. It is the San Diego Handicap going 1 mile and a 16th. Don't let the field of 5 fool you. This is kind of like the Jim Dandy earlier today at Saratoga. You can go all 5 directions in here. You have the program scratch of the 6 Sub Sandador, but let's start our discussion here with the obvious horse at 3 to 5 in the morning line. I'm not sure I buy into that. That's Arabian Night. What an enigma. We know Arabian Night has tons of talent, but again, only 5 starts, 3 wins. It was a lot to ask after he won the FanDuel Racing Pacific Classic to then go to the Breeders' Cup Classic, but that's what they did. I thought he credited himself okay to finish 4th, but this is a look back at the FanDuel Racing Pacific Classic where he was all out to beat the late Go Rocket Ride. Now that you've had a year to think about this performance, what do you think of Arabian Night today, who has not raced since the Breeders' Cup Classic in November?
I still think he has a lot to prove, at
Yeah, I
least in my
agree.
opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an okay Pacific Classic, but when this year, I just think the water is getting a lot deeper, and he could very well win this race and then go on and, have a great summer. But I think there's a case to be made to try to beat him. He could be the speed in here, and he could be ready to go. Bob always has these horses ready off of long layoffs, but it's not his readiness. I definitely think he's going to be ready to run, is if you think that another horse in here has an opportunity to take a step forward. And if you think Arabian Night is really that good, I don't know that he's that good.
That's my thing, because I don't know how those 3-year-olds look in retrospect. And like I said, he's flashing.
I think you do know.
I think I do. Okay, all right. Yeah, exactly. So at 3 to 5 in the morning line, I think that's getting carried away. Another horse kind of in the category, I'm not going to say he's as talented, but I keep waiting for his breakthrough performance. Dr. Venkman, He's been sprinting. He's been beaten as the favorite his last 2 starts sprinting. Is there a reason to think that he'll actually be better going long today?
Maybe that's what he needs in order to have his breakthrough performance. Look, sometimes horses can be a little bit of a tough read. Clearly, this horse was really good sprinting last year, but horses can change from 2 to 3, can change from 3 to 4 and onward. He's got the pedigree to stretch out. I'm taking a shot with him to beat Arabian Night. To me, he's the alternative that I want because I couldn't really make a case for Express Train coming up.
I'm trying to do ZZ Top's LaGrange. Up next is New Grange, who last time out flopped in the big cap as the favorite. Let's start with this. We're going to look at happier times for New Grange when he won the San Pasquale prior to that. Was there any excuse for what was a really subpar performance after this race in the big cap?
I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to run better than that. He was the favorite in the big cap. Maybe it was just too tough. And I would say that the big cap that was a good field. This is probably a little bit more of a manageable field because it's a smaller field. I think the horse to beat in here obviously is Arabian Night. Maybe he can bounce back, but that's the problem. That's the difficulty in handicapping this race is that there are question marks surrounding many of these horses. So do you really want to take a short price on any of them?
Okay, can I get crazy with the longer shot?
I want you to get crazy.
Okay, so I'm going to get crazy on the backtracks. Who would have thought for the San Diego Handicap, a prep to the FanDuel Racing Pacific Classic, that I'd want to talk about the Pleasanton Mile winner? And not just the Pleasanton Mile winner, the Pleasanton Mile winner from last year. That is Katona. He went up to Pleasanton, and he dominated 1 mile and 70 yards, what I think at the time was a track record. It probably still holds right now because the Pleasanton Mile winner did not go as fast this year. But we have not seen him in over a year, but that was awesome. I get it. It was Pleasanton. However, he is 15 to 1 in the morning line. You have doubts about other horses. Should we be respecting the Pleasanton Mile winner?
I mean, anything could happen, I guess. It is horse racing. I think it's a little bit of a stretch just because of the layoff
Really?
and also Yeah, a little bit of just a wee bit.
Pleasant smile winner.
But he also broke his maiden for maiden 40,
Yeah.
so it would be quite the achievement to take this graded stakes win today.
Okay, but I guess the overall point, it's a field of 5, and your longest shot had a monster performance in his last start.
How do you feel about Express Train, real quick?
He's so hit or miss for me. I think. Can I be honest with you? I think he's the most talented horse in the field. I just don't know what we're going to get. He's coming out of the 6.5 furlong race and he missed all of 2023. But to me, John Sheriff's is obviously that guy. He plots it out. The Kona Gold was not their goal. This was their goal. Express Train, a must use for me. I think the overall theme that you and I have in the San Diego is we're absolutely lining up against the 3-5 morning line favorite Arabian Night. Now, who beats Arabian Night? I think there's, obviously 4 other possibilities, but we are not convinced Arabian Night is far and away the horse to beat in the San Diego.
So one more quick question in terms of ticket structure for the late pick 5. What do you do for that race?
So this conversation came up on the show a couple weeks ago, and it comes up occasionally. Okay, so I have an opinion against Arabian Night. I could logically go all in this race, but if my opinion is against Arabian Night, you can make a case for going all but Arabian Night.
Yeah.
And that again, that sounds odd to go all but the 3-5 morning line favorite. But what is the point of going all if you're going to use the 3-5 morning line favorite? You're going against your opinion, which says the 3-5 morning line favorite is vulnerable. So I would actually take the other 4 and leave Arabian Night off the ticket.
Yeah, or if you do like him, if you don't think he's vulnerable, you single him and you move on.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we're going to move on to the biggest race of the day on this Saturday at Del Mar. It is the Grade 1 Bing Crosby, a win in your in to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. We thank Lanes End for sponsoring all the Breeders' Cup Challenge Series races on the dirt. We do have a scratch in here. The 3 Straight No Chaser is out. And then you had the program scratch of the 5, Roll On Big Joe. Straight No Chaser being out changes the pace dynamics in here because that was far and away the fastest horse in the early stages here. The Chosen Brawn is a tactical horse, but is he better when he has that clear target out there?
It's a good question. I think he can get away with anything. It depends on the break. It depends on the trip with this horse. But he, like I said earlier, he's got a heart of a lion. I feel like if he's got a bad trip, he can still kind of work it out. If he has a good trip, he can work it out. It doesn't really matter where he is. Maybe he's a little bit better with a target. Maybe the 9 Jackstown decides to go from the outside. Yeah. But even with that, I think the Chosen Brawn can adapt.
Yeah, his most recent start was the Thor's Echo back on May 25th at Santa Anita. This is what I'm talking about, him being tactical. Look, when he runs in these Calbred races, nobody wants to run against him. So he ends up with small fields. This was a field of 4, and then he sat in second and then powered away. Again, nothing to get excited about amongst the competition here, but he's been able, under these circumstances, they can maybe work with him a little bit. I know that sounds odd for a 6-year-old who's won 18 starts, but he can adapt to just about any situation, as you pointed out. And last year, he just had overcome a lot of trouble. But you did mention a horse that we'll get to in a little bit in Jackstown, who I think could benefit with that scratch, a Straight No Chaser. Let's move to Happy Jack. He went gate to wire last time out. That was in the Triple Bend, going 7 furlongs. We were talking earlier in these turf races, the difference between a down the hill and 5 furlongs at Del Mar. What about the shortening up here for Happy Jack from 7 to 6? I think it's a vastly different race, shortening up 220 yards. I don't always believe in horses like this who went gate to wire going 7 furlongs, now coming back to 6. What about you?
He's a tough read because even in the beginning of his career, they stretched him out. He went long and then they turned him back to a sprint distance. I'm with you, though. I think his speed comes easier to him going 7/8 or even 6.5 furlongs. When you shorten up against this caliber of competition, I think he's run off his feet a little bit.
Okay, I'm not asking you to give away your address, but what city do you reside in mainly when you're not out here at Del Mar?
Louisville.
Okay, so Churchill Downs, the Louisville form. Louisville. Let's talk about Close the Game Sugar, winner of the Kelly's Landing last time out, winner of the Aristides before that. This is right in your backyard. What do you think of Close the Game Sugar?
I'll be honest with you, he's been an overachiever. I wasn't in love with him back in the Aristides. I wasn't in love with him last time out, and he totally proved me wrong in both of those efforts. 2 back in the Aristides, I think it's worth noting, people will look at who he beat and Skelly. And Skelly at one point in time, everybody thought he was, one of the
He's in the Grade 1 Vanderbilt today. He might make amends.
Yeah, but Skelly can't get out of the gate. He hasn't been able to get out of the gate in the past couple of starts, and that was the case last time out. So the pace scenario totally changed, and I thought he benefited from that. But he did come back to prove me wrong in the last race, and I think this is a big step up in class. You're going from listed stakes races to a grade 1, but maybe he can do.
Okay, here's the two worlds that don't make sense to me. Close the Game Sugar is 5-1. Jackstown is 15-1. There is approximately zero chance that Jackstown is going to be anywhere near 15-1. I get it, Straight No Chaser scratch that takes out another horse, but this horse should never have been 15-1. But with Straight No Chaser out, there's no doubt in my mind Bob Baffert is going to have Juan Hernandez quarter horsing Jackstown in this race. He's undefeated 2 for 2. Is this horse not a threat to go gate to wire?
Absolutely. He absolutely is. And I think it's going to depend on what Hector Berrios decides to do on the Chosen Brawn. If the Chosen Brawn gets out of the gate, if he can apply that pressure or at least keep him honest on the front end, because if this horse gets away with what he wants to do on the front end, he is very, very dangerous.
Okay, who are you picking for? Winning, you're in Bing Crosby.
I went to Anarchist. He has been...
great point. He was second last year to the Chosen Brawn.
He's been very, very close to the Chosen Brawn before in the past. I interviewed Doug O'Neill before his last race when he shipped to Churchill, and you really got a good, strong read that this was not the goal at all. He didn't think that he was 100% fit going into the race, but he got so much out of that race because he was quarter horsed out of there. He was down on the inside, took a lot of pressure. He was pressed the entire way. So I think he's going to be a better horse second off the layoff.
Gabby, looking at prices in all our stakes races today, it is one of the best cards in America. Don't miss it. Starting at 2 o'clock local time, 2 o'clock Pacific. Our entire team is here. We'll be on earlier than that. But again, the first of 11 races at 2 o'clock, and you can play it all at FanDuel Racing and watch it all on FanDuel TV. Thanks for joining us on our social media show here, our Del